All right, now I'm in Substance Painter, and let's start with a new project. Set this to at least a 2K map, and this is what I was talking about in my previous video, the normal map format. We got DirectX and OpenGL. They are exactly the same, except their Y values, the greens, are inverted from each other. So if you're going to use a normal map, you just got to pay attention to which format the program you're working with uses. There we go. And now let's import our files. Select all these. Prefix of my, so I'll know which one it is. I can search from easily. These are textures. Current project, yes. Import those. And while I'm at it, grab these two materials. This is the snail skin I made in the last video. Is the chainmail that I made a couple months ago. Same prefix as everything else. So already got this set up. Import. Get rid of that. Search for my images now. My. All right. So find the fabric normal and the snail body normal. Here we go. Bake mesh maps. Snail already has normal. Does not need ID. Limbs does not have a normal, but does not need an ID. The fabric has normal. Does not need an ID. Central does not need an ID. Yeah. Set this to 4K, so it's going to be the same as the others. And let's see, in the snail, I'm going to set the thickness to only same mesh name because I want there to be an indication in the thickness that the little skin around the eyeballs is thinner because I intend to try and use that to create some translucency with an opacity map so I can kind of see through the eyes and see the eyeball inside them. I just want to see if I can do it or not. It may fail, but I want to have the map so I'll have it available if it does work. Bake my maps. There we go. Return. Things look fine. This is actually the second time I've done this. The first try, the fabric flipped out for some reason. I still don't really know why. All right, for the fabric. And let's see, is that under smart materials or regular materials? Okay, that one's under regular materials. There's my smart material right there. Drag that on. And that is much, much, much too big. So find that. See, I think the way I made this, I have like a transform node up here at the top. There we go. How small do I want this scale to be? All the way down to 1. Now, I don't want this on everything here. I only want where I want chainmail to be. So I'm going to put a mask on this layer. Use my polygon fill. So fill by the mesh. So I will want this on this chainmail here, this chainmail, this chainmail, this one, and this one over here. I also want another layer beneath this one. That's just going to be a shadow to hide the fact that you can see through where his legs do not exist. So let's see here. Where's the transparency coming from? This one right here? Well, what I may have to do is make 2 different versions of the chainmail, and one with the transparency, one without. I'm going to duplicate this. I keep thinking I'm in Photoshop. Control C, Control V. There we go. And in this one, I'm going to turn off this layer. Now you can't see through it. It's not very well, but that works everywhere. So I don't want that to be affecting the ones that are dangling right here. So I'm going to turn that off of these. I wonder where would the best place to put maybe a black layer? I don't want to put on top of that. Is that going to work? What is creating that? I want to know. I may just have to accept it for what it is for the time being. Either that or go back and figure out how the material worked from scratch, because I made it months ago and I've kind of forgotten a few things. I just want to be able to fill that right there with black, but I might just be happy with dark gray. What exactly is going on right there? It's not something in the height. All metallic. Well, I've got an idea. Material roughness. And there's the opacity right there. So if I put a mask on this, mask, go, drag this in, throw that in there, and then rough. filter and levels, and I'm going to invert this. Darn, scale's too big. It's a scale on everything else. Let's see here. That's a tiling of 1. Oh, I put this below. I put this above the transform. No wonder it didn't work. There we go. That'll fill in all the gaps in between the chainmail. Would not make much sense to give this a nylon texture. Let's see what that would look like. And then above that, well, maybe I should put this in a layer actually, in a group actually. Of using this, throw this in here. This will use the mask. And here I can throw in a filter. If I want to throw anything else in that group, I can do that easily. Let's see here. What about? Let's find some nice leather for the boots and the straps. That I might use for the edges of these pieces here. Black mask. Oh, probably do that. Turn on the symmetry and make things a bit easier. And for the surface, the leather, make it look a little weathered. Scale looks a bit weird to me. Question is, how does this particular leather work? Most of it seems to be in this one right here. I'm looking at the wrong thing, no wonder. I can't see anything. There we go. Tiling does not seem to be having much of an effect. This tiling. There we go. Also does not seem to be having much of an effect. I hate when this happens. Problem with using pre-built materials like this is you don't necessarily know how they work. Right, there it is. There, looks a bit more natural to the size of the object. We'll use a different leather for the boots, maybe. At least for the sole part. This bit right there. We use a slightly different one for that one. There. Use different types, that way it gets some more interesting values to it. But what I originally had was a slightly redder tone than both of these, so I'm going to select both of these and put them in a new folder. And in this folder, I'm going to make a new bill, turn off everything except the color. Kind of a dark reddish. Set this to maybe multiply. No. Okay, so it kind of turns both of these kind of reddish. And then this of a mask, these objects right here, they won't affect the rest of it. I'm looking at this and seeing that these are going through more than I realized they were. What I may do is save as. I'm a Snail Knight again. Go back into Maya, make 1 or 2 adjustments there, then bring this back in again. I'll probably have to rebake a couple of the base textures, but should be easy enough. Yep, did not notice how much this was poking through right there. And I dropped these into ZBrush to keep this from happening, but apparently I must have turned them off and stopped paying attention. So what I can do here is grab this and lift it up a little bit. Easy fix. First of all, I'm going to save a scene. In case I need to go back to that again. I'm just going to re-export my FBX back into Substance Painter. And now if I go to Edit, Re-import Mesh, it'll re-import with those fixes, but give it a minute. There you go. Now there's some weirdness going on here. That's because I need to rebake my base textures. So back to texture settings, bake mesh maps. I'm just going to bake those again. Don't know which I'll the maps will be impacted by these changes, but if I just bake everything, I don't have to worry about it. There we go. Sometimes these things happen. See, here's central armor. I know I want a few bits of this decorated in gold. No, I definitely want the bolts also the same gold as these bolts, so I might as well go back to this one. One every single time. Missed. Sure, I got all those. Yep. Got the TUV, so I can start painting these bits here. Want to have at least two different types of metal on here just so it's not too samey. I think I'll remove this one from this bit right here. And this bit here. Maybe you as well. No, all of that. Make sure you get all of that. Pick a different metal. Oh, that one look mixed in with that one. Oh, I kind of like that right here. Take that off of some of this. Which of these do I want that on? I'll include this one on just the bars. This one I'll put on the rest of the mask. Take all that off of this entirely. I'll take all of that off and just put this one on the outside bits. Okay, what do I want to put on that? Bronze, maybe. Not you. You. There we go. There's no gold on the helmet. I did have something I wanted to bring in, try as a alpha channel of decoration on the helmet. I don't know how I will like it. I'm going to try it and see what happens. So on the bronze, I'm going to make a layer right here. Cut off everything except the height. Oh, I didn't want to do a fill layer. I want to do a paint layer. There we go. On this, I'll turn off everything except the height. Too much. Yeah, little spirals, little filigree spirals in there. I thought that looked neat. I might do that on these pieces too as well. I'll probably treat them exactly the same. And as for these holes right here, make a new layer, solid black, maximum roughness, black mask. I'm just going to paint those solid black. There. Give him a little snail shell motif on his armor. Why not? Let's have some fun with it. Oops, forgot about these. Do the same thing with them, I guess. All right. Now let's try that snail skin and see how that turns out. There it is. Starters, way too big. And I may throw a blur on this. Seems to be ignoring. Oh, it is doing it, just having very little effect on it, unfortunately. By doing this the hard way. I've got an idea. We're going to turn off. Oh, hang on. That's because there's height and normal. That's why it's doing it. Now I can control the normal. So it's just barely there. But I'm going to make another layer beneath this one. Same color as that. Shiny. Then here I'll add a paint layer to this. Opacity low. Paint it out on the underside. 100%, but certainly reduce the strength of that. Keep clicking on that one by mistake. That's an improvement, I'd say. They'll make this slightly darker. Oh, this one, that's what I'm painting about. There we go. Didn't realize I was poking through so much. And this should probably not be quite so glossy. In fact, what I may do is put those both in a group. Control them together. Put a layer above these. I can control their roughness all at the same time. There. It's being more consistent across all the skin. And I did not notice this poking through before, probably because I made them the same color previously. Yep, just barely. Well, once again, we already know how to fix this. There we go. And this time I should only have to do that for the snail body itself, because I know it's the only part I changed. I go there and tell this to bake the snail material. It'll ignore everything else, just leave them alone. So it should take about a quarter of the time. There we go. Now, what to do? The shell. This does not need symmetry, and might as well turn everything else off. I'll make a layer for this one. Only will affect here. Filter. I'll probably do that again. Don't want bothering. Let's see, find a gradient. What I want. Yeah. I happen to have a snail shell with me right now, so I'm using that as reference. Some of the colors. As a starting point. Hang on, I did remember to put the wrong one. The snail shell on that, right? Yes, all right. Got nice sort of grunge textures, maybe. Don't know why that showed up in grunge. That's not quite what I was hoping for. Maybe that might work better. I think I can live with that. I'm not worried about perfection right now. I'm going to blur this a bit in the future, so I'm just kind of laying down rough placement. Wrong one. I was looking at the wrong thing. There we go. This forces it to kind of take on some of those edges I carved into in ZBrush. Now I wonder if this will work. I want to only just barely affect it. Only up here, too. The main reason I made that blue is because in the original pictures, everything else was slightly bluish. I wonder how this would look. Find where all the metal bits are, right here. Faint bluish, and just make that very, very transparent. Copy that. I'll go to my limbs, paste that above there, and then maybe in the fabric I'll make that a little bit darker. No, instead of using this, I'll just use the same one. There. There we go. Should match up a little bit better now. Make sure it's a 4K. I may have to export the opacity separately because I don't think this is including opacity in anything. Well, fortunately, I do have one here I made specifically for opacity. Forgot about that. All right. And let's see. I don't need the height. I don't need the emissive. Any of these. I'm going to be relying entirely on normals, not height. And then the opacity. There it is. That one only need one of those materials anyway, so I'm not sure why. Oh wait, the fabric too, so I need two of them. And armor opacity does not need to exist. Central armor opacity does not need to exist. That's the opacity for my chainmail. And oops, the snail itself, so it should have a little bit of opacity fading out there. Let's see what that actually looks like in Maya in the next video.